Hey guys, it's Baron J67, and we are sitting here in wonderful GDC San Francisco, and we got the awesome opportunity to check out Den of Wolves. And this is amazing. We got 10 chambers. We have music and audio director Simon, and then we have communications director Robin. This has been an awesome experience. If you guys know anything about me, you can hear it in my voice. I had an extreme amount of fun. And I just want to ask a few questions about this. I know we kind of went over it during the presentation, but Simon, what I love to ask devs is who is their game for? Who is Den of Wolves for? When you guys were making this, who did you have in mind?
People already playing first-person shooter co-op games, really.
Okay.
Fans of GTFO, fans of Payday, fans of I don't know what else is out there. We don't really look that much at other games in the genre, you know.
Hmm.
We play like Destiny for inspiration more than I don't know Killing Floor. I don't know if there's a new Killing Floor, but
There's a third one coming.
yeah. But it's for us. It's more looking at the previous games that we've made and sort of
Yes.
trying to perfecting the formula. Because we've done first person co-op games since 2005, really, when we worked on a few of the founders worked on, myself included, worked on Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, the PC version.
Okay.
You can play the entire campaign in co-op and the sequel. So then we did Payday the Heist and Payday 2 and then GTFO, and now Den of Wolves is the latest sort of iteration where we're like looking at the concept, the formula, and trying to improve it and make it evolve, in every aspect. Storytelling, fostering the community to make it easier to play together, exciting the player, creating variety, allowing for player agency, all these things.
And I jumped ahead because I'm so excited. Can you let the folks know, for those who don't know, what is Den of Wolves?
Den of Wolves is a description of the city where the game takes place. It's a Den of Wolves. The city is Midway City. They built, in the future, we imagine they build a city on Midway Island in the middle of the North Pacific Ocean. It becomes this national hub for international trade, and they have the world's only entirely secure IT infrastructure. They have a stock exchange there, right in between America and Asia. So it becomes a place where all the world's biggest corporations have to have an office for prestige, for security, to be where, it matters, So all the main offices of all the corporations around the world, like big pharma, big oil, everyone, they have to be there, And so it's like rivalry cranked to 11. And you're there as someone just lending their skills in assassinations and sabotage and robbery and stuff like that to the highest bidder. Because while these companies uphold this facade,
Yeah.
in the background, they're really, playing dirty. And they hire you to do the biddings and the dirty work. And that's what the game's about. It's about late stage capitalism and securing the bag.
So was this always a world that you guys wanted to create?
No, we always work backwards from like what could be a cool game, that is challenging and interesting and exciting, and then okay, what sort of a team do we have, and what can we deliver on, and then from there you go like, what story, backstory, what world, what type of a game should we make that sort of matches these things and checks the boxes really. What can we do with the resources that we have, and what will be a really cool game? And that's why we came up with like, heists. We think there's room for more than one first-person shooter co-op heist franchise in the world.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many military shooters. Why not more cops and robbers? And then adding into the mix the sci-fi element in order to sort of just blow the lid off in terms of creativity and allow us to add anything to the game that we feel serves the purpose of making the game better. Be it, interesting enemies that you couldn't do in a contemporary game, robots and stuff, interesting weapons, science fiction weapons that plays in an interesting way, um, scenarios, obviously, with the dive that we should talk more about, and then
Yes.
also gadgets and stuff. So it's like it's never sci-fi for the sake of following, some existing IP or franchise. It's not sci-fi for the sake of sci-fi. It's always sci-fi for the sake of allowing us to anything that we're like, what would be cool or what would play well. We can put that in the game because we make the rules, and we don't have to follow it's because of sci-fi we have that sort of creative liberty.
And I want to say, as fresh off of playing it, and you mentioning building the world, not just to have sci-fi for sci-fi's sake, I felt immersed immediately. Like, I don't know if it was, just the presetting, just kind of putting us in the mind of where we're going and why we're doing it. But as soon as we jumped into the game, especially the main heist, as you're hearing the world, you're seeing all the enemies kind of lounging around, chilling. You're seeing the bodies and them securing the area, and you're walking, and you're walking into the lion's den, like they're the den of wolves, and it felt really cool, feeling more than just, hey, you're here to steal this. Like it was more than that, and I was pleasantly surprised. Like it wasn't just, all right, here's mission one, get this. Like it truly was a world building. Honestly, I felt like I was in a RPG. Like that's in terms of being led into that mission.
And it would have been an even better experience if you would have played an entire storyline with all the prep missions leading up to that, because what you eavesdrop on, the conversations and what you hear on the news in that segment of the heist is really mirroring or sort of showing the results of your choices throughout the storyline. So you're like hearing them talk about stuff you did.
And even so that if you had done the prep missions in another way, they could also be onto you, like when you walk through that.
Yeah, because you're setting up.
They know that you're going to set them up, and they'll attack you, so you will have to fight your way through a part of it instead of just walking through it.
Exactly. So the way you played it now, you betray them by giving them what they think is like some sort of a blueprint for a medical device or something like that.
Yes.
That they're gonna schematics, and then it's actually killer drones that just go and kill them, and then you get through, and you're there to sort of penetrate their security and get something that they have. But if they're onto you, they would ambush you in that walking segment of the mission,
And even so, we did one prep mission and we did the main heist, and even in those small moments, I could immediately feel how much variety is in just those two experiences that we had. I accidentally left the mission item, and without getting too much in depth, I failed us. We're all sitting there waiting to extract, and we're sitting there, we're waiting. We're like, man, where's the countdown? Why is it? And they're like, did you forget the drone? And I was like, oh, sorry, team. So we're all trying to run back out there, and then of course we get wiped. But another thing that really stood out on top of that being engulfed in a story situation was also just the movie moments. Like, not that it was on rails, but the movie moments.
That's important to us.
Yeah, it's not on rails. I want to make that very clear. It is movie moments that happen as depending on how you play. We cleared the vault. I left the drone, hit the corner. We got the door open. I, for some reason, sprinting first, like I'm the best guy in the game, and
taking the lead.
Yeah, taking the lead. I got it, guys. Clearing corners. Of course, didn't clear my corner. 3 security guards hit from the right. I get dropped. It turns into the end of a robbery movie. People start falling. Things go left. Shields get busted. it just was all happening in game.
Yeah.
And it was just such a fun, epic moment. And I was embarrassed at my play with that first prep mission. I was like, hold on, I'm a gamer. I do this. But the point I want to get across to our viewers is it truly was, each experience is going to be something rare and special. Like that's the vibe that I got from it. And it felt very big, like movie, almost like it was a cinematic experience.
Yeah.
Dropping a shield in front of the guy who just got dropped. and going to res them while somebody's covering, and then all of a sudden a door opens where you think you're good, you think you got a good position, and the door opens up behind you, or like a spot you came through, all of a sudden enemies were following around. And then the enemy AI is really, really good. Like I didn't feel safe. Like
No,
like they're not dummies. Yeah, they were maneuvering.
Dangerous, yeah.
Yeah, and that was a super cool experience. And I want to, so you being the music and audio director, I want to say the sound cues were awesome. Like it was super dope. Like you thinking everything's good, and you hear where are they at, and you could tell what direction they were coming from. So how important was sound for and within Den of Wolves?
Yeah, very important. Like we're you know, it's very evocative. Like it just hits your emotions in a different way than the graphics, because the graphics will never be photorealistic. But there's a 1-to-1 conversion in sounds for the most part. Like if you record a great voice line or a great sort of whatever sound in the environment and you play it back, it will sound more real as a sound than graphics would as in visually sort of. So it's really important, and it grounds a game that is sci-fi. You know, with everything, it feels a little bit like, well, I haven't seen a corridor like this before, because we're playing around with the architecture and making it, you know, pushing it a little bit in terms of design. So it feels unfamiliar and interesting, but like not fully real, you know. But then the sound makes it real. So sound is super important.
I will say that while getting the radio communications in, that was super cool. That like sci-fi staticky like cutout. Like I thought that the radio cutout. Yeah. I thought that was super cool. Like I kept talking about that while we were playing. Like
we're trying to add a lot of grit to everything. Yeah, like you know, subtle distortion to sounds, and it's like things cutting out and not being pristine and perfect.
Yeah, like the sounds fit the world. Yeah. Like it feels like it's high end tech, but it's like maybe we bootlegged it, or maybe like we're not using.
It's a worn feature, you know, with like
there you go,
spray paint, like graffiti and stuff, you know, and dirt and garbage strewn around, and that goes for the sound as well. It has a little bit of graininess to it.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for, and it really. Even with hearing cues, because my aim is not the best, I was making sure to keep the drill drones going. So as they're you know, they're holding it down and just hearing, you know, boom, and I'm on it like right away, get to it, and you know, it's cool. And then that's also another thing of just the scope of the game and how even somebody, if your team's full of shooters and you're just like me, not the best one, there's something for you to do. Like, hey, just call outs. Pick up the stuff. Like,
it's a game that asks the players to keep a lot in mind, you know.
Yeah.
You could potentially even have like 3 or more of those spider drills available in the heist, so that you could keep, you know, drilling into more vaults simultaneously. You know, if you would have done better in the prep missions. You know, you didn't get to play that prep mission now, but like imagine that your the conditions in the heist would be different depending on how you performed in the prep missions.
And speaking of the missions, the dive, that was, for those seeing this, you think Inception and mixed with a sci-fi Inception, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, like, the
Matrix and Inception just blended together. And I thought that was a really cool element. Now, can you give the folks a breakdown of what the dive is?
The dive is when you hack into someone's brain in Den of Wolves, and that is either to retrieve information that they have, or it could be actually to unlock something in the physical world, like a vault door or something. So you know, corporations would have digital networks, but a component that is entirely, you know, biological, essentially, in order to stop AIs from being able to navigate or hack those networks or those components in the security systems. But you as a human can do that. So you connect to that, and it becomes sort of like, it's not a virtual reality because it's not obviously a digital simulation. It's more like a planted memory or something like that, that the security system that made sure that is ingrained in this mind in order to stop people from trying to get to the information that's valuable inside this person's brain. And that allows us as game developers to create any scenario, really. As long as we feel like we can deliver on that, like, as developers, and do a good job. Because of GTFO, I think we can do something horror-like, So we're working on that already. So what you saw was a dive where it's basically like parkour or sort of platforming, first-person platforming, sort of a what do you call it? Like not a gauntlet, but like a obstacle course. Get to the end before the time runs out.
Yes.
But it could be a shooter experience, and that's interesting if you're in a stealth scenario in the real world, and then in a dive you go to an action scenario. That sort of gives you a variety of not just location or setting, but also the tempo or the intensity of the gameplay. And then back into the real world, you would be back in stealth again. So that's really cool. The rules can be different. Like you can be the shooter part in a dive can be like one shot, one kill. So it's more heightened and more of a simulation, like a military simulator where it's more real and the bullets are more dangerous. And as a player, you just have to, you find yourself in this other reality, and you're like, okay, what are the rules and what are the challenges, and how do we complete this challenge? What is it that we need to do? And it wouldn't really be thematically correct to give the players a tutorial like you hack into someone's brain. No one can do this. By the way, here's how you do it.
Yeah.
That when you're the cutting edge of crime, you're on the cutting edge of crime, and you're the only one of the few people that dare to do this. You're coming out of a dive with like a nosebleed and a migraine. It's not something people do usually. So you're just putting your life on the line in order to make some good money, in the world of Den of Wolves. So it's it could be a real place, a forest or a Japanese temple or whatever. You can be like avoiding ninjas in a Japanese temple, or something. Well, we can do anything really, as long as it's like something that's interesting, an interesting challenge, and that it's a co-op thing. What you got to play, obviously, as I said, was this parkour sort of thing. But you can stay longer. That was time limited, but you can be in a dive for like half an hour. Like you can have, we can play around with the way we're inspired by like Akira and
nice.
Ghost in the Shell and Blade Runner, and like where's the line between reality and dream or simulation? Where's the line between robot and human and stuff? And sort of mindfuck science fiction concepts present in like Black Mirror and stuff like that. We wouldn't be beyond having like dives within dives, or like a mission starting and then you find out later in a storyline like, oh, it's actually been a dive all along. Like, we go, like, we can mess with the player in a lot of interesting ways, and again, it's one of the nice freedoms of not being tied to an existing franchise. We can make up like our own rules, whatever we feel serves, the purpose of making a really cool game experience. We can do.
And that's something that really stood out to me. I'm really appreciative. I can, of course, there wasn't no character creator at the time or while we played, but just seeing the different hairstyles, being a Black person with, being able to do a wide variety of things with my hair, being able to see that represented even in the marketing.
Yeah.
Like, seeing the cool banner, like, which of course I took a picture in front of because I think it's epic. Please make posters. But yeah, like, just that's such a huge thing to be able to see. And I know that it's extra steps that not are always taken, but the fact to see it even in this build of the game, and even, to see it in quality here and now, it only has me anticipating what we're going to be able to experience in the future.
Yeah, I'm glad you noticed.
Yes,
and appreciate it.
Yeah, because it's a very huge thing, and I had to tell you that. So yeah, the audio, the hair, the customization. How deep in customization are we going to be going? Or like, is everybody going to be completely different? Is our mask going to have abilities? Like how far, if you without,
Yeah, it's
like, it's of course.
I don't think we want to have player expression, and we've even been discussing like maybe, voice modulation for the mask, so that you can have like a way, like
Elon Musk is like a microphone and a speaker.
Nice proximity chat is gonna be fun.
So, and cosmetics and different mask designs and so on. But I don't think that we'll have that going into early access. It's something that we'll just add as we go, rather, because we really need to make a good sort of base game.
Yes.
Where the combat is super tight. It's coming along really nicely. We'd like to think. Stealth needs some work, but we know what to do, And then there's other components to the game with like weapon customization that is more on a prototype stage at this point, so you didn't get to try that out. But yeah, we'll be going into early access with what we think is a super solid game, but there will be components that we haven't added yet that we're, of course, super excited to add later on.
I know that was actually something I wanted to talk about too. The stealth mechanic and the guy with the spindlies, with the fibers that stretch out.
Yeah,
I thought that was so cool. Like, so for those listening, there's an enemy where while you're in stealth, it's like a biometric scanner, but it's tendrils, and they pop out of his body in different directions like venom. And it is just extremely cool, like having that visual, and then even in the pixelation showing that you're in stealth, like that I like that different element because I love stealth games. Like, Hitman, just a sucker for that stuff. So being able to experience that and see something so different, and have the visual cue of like, this is where, like, hey, you can duck under it, like, I think that's super cool. So speaking, because we're getting there in time, and I apologize, but early access, is there a rough estimate of when we're going to be getting that, or and how long, what's
in the future?
Yeah,
I like that.
We know that we will be early access, but we're not ready to give any public.
Okay.
And it's probably because it's a lot of stress on the devs, like a public data out there. And it's also, I don't know if you mentioned a lot of broken games released.
Yes.
Like, what was that performance? The great game performance, Unwell, which is a deal breaker for a first-person shooter. Like,
yes.
The performance needs to be there, right? Otherwise, the gameplay sucks. Even if it is good,
yes.
The performance would. So we can't really afford to release a broken game because that is all we have.
Yeah.
So we're not a big publisher with multiple games coming out, and some of them can drop out. Basically, when it's done.
Hey, I love that.
That's
when it's done, folks.
That's the philosophy. We realize the how great it is for gamers to be like, oh, this is a cool game, and put a mental sort of flag into that, like, oh, it's coming in, so many months or whatever. It's coming, in the fall or in the spring of next year or whatever. Like, we realize people would love to have that,
Yeah.
But for now, I think the best way is just to wish list it on Steam and then keep track of it, because we don't even know ourselves exactly when it's coming out. We need to. Our development process is kind of experimental,
Okay.
So even if Ulf has a great vision and sort of knows what he wants, there's still components where it's like we need to tweak things. It's very game design is very theoretical until you start putting the components together and see how they interact. So we want to have respect for the fact that it's hard to make games. Even though we have a great track record, we're starting over every game and we're building everything from scratch.
Every game released is a miracle.
Hey, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, but it really is. It's so.
Yeah, and we want to enjoy the journey and sort of have a good work-life balance while developing the game too. So that's important to us. Therefore. We do the weird thing of not really saying when the game's out.
Yeah. And you know what I'll say, hearing that, it actually gives me goosebumps, because something that I've been seeing a lack of in terms of in the space is you guys are treating this as the art that it is. Like, you don't walk around and rush artists. Like, so why are we rushing game developers? Like, why are we putting a pin on? No, let them cook. And hearing, right. No, and hearing that's extremely, it's refreshing and it's awesome. And I wish you guys all the best. Let folks know where they can go and support you guys and find all the information that's out there about the Den of Wolves.
The best thing is to add this to your wish
go to
list on Steam.
Yes.
Steam, search for Den of Wolves, add it to your wish list, so you'll keep updated when we post news about it. Also, denofwolves.com, you can also find some information. But I'd say the Steam page is the best source of information right now.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank
You guys make sure and get out there and support, and then also go make sure to check out GTFO and 10 Chambers. Thank you guys so much for bringing LV1 Gaming out here. You guys are awesome. This has been an amazing experience. Made my first GDC something truly special.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice,
Thank you.
nice.
Much
Thanks
love
for having us.
Right. Much love, everyone. Peace.